This is our reflective piece. We took as our inspiration the comedian Louis C.K., who recently said, "Everything is amazing and nobody's happy." Some people are afraid of commerce. Some people are afraid of globalization. Some people protest the WTO and the G20 and break windows wherever they can.
Modern media makes us more aware of bad things that have always gone on in the past.
Some people have more than others, and it seems like that problem is getting worse.
Some people are worried about the environment.
Some people are worried about overpopulation. If so many people in developing countries come online, what will that mean for pollution, for the environment, and for our world future? We're working against what seems to be a common perception that the world is getting worse. Even Ryan and Jay feel like they're seeing signs of the impending apocalypse.
By any measurable standard, quality of life is improving around the world for people in unprecedented numbers. As freedom increases, so do health, life expectancy, and educational opportunities.
One of the most basic things needed to have happy people on a healthy planet is food. So let's start talking about food. Over the past 50 years, food availability increased 40%, even while the population doubled. During the decade of the 1980s, world food prices dropped 40%. In the 1940s and 50s, a man named Norman Borlaug did a research position in Mexico. He began working on variants of wheat that would grow to half height and were resistant to wheat rust. This wheat crop would yield 2 crops per season and vastly increase the food availability in places like Mexico, Pakistan, and India. Norman Borlaug is credited with saving the lives of over 1 billion people. This level of food availability has 2 powerful effects. First, health and lifespan increase dramatically. Second, when people have the ability to move away from subsistence agriculture, they can create goods and services that are much more valuable to themselves and to others.
The wealthy are the pioneers of what will be common in the future. We give some stats here for the U.S. As developing countries also become more food efficient, an increasing segment of their population will move to safer, higher earning, more productive work.
It's important to keep in mind here the time scale that we're talking about. Some of the statistics we're talking about cover 100 years, some are 50 years. We are looking at an anthropological scale event here, but these events are going even faster. In the past century, life expectancy has increased so much that we've run out of room on the board and had to move our numbers around. People in India are experiencing change even faster now. Within one generation, people are literally going from picking through trash to seeing their children work in air-conditioned offices doing computer technical support.
It's important to remember this change over time. Prosperity is an absolute improvement in quality of life, not a relative comparison to someone else's wealth. At one time, Cornelius Vanderbilt was the richest man in the world, but he never even had air conditioning in his home, and he never flew through the air in an aluminum tube.
So what's happened to all these new people? They've gotten educated. From 1960 to 2003, worldwide child labor has dropped more than half, from 24 to 11%. Since 1970, global illiteracy rates have dropped from 46 to 18%. Enrollment in higher education has increased from 6.8% in 1965 to 25.6% in 2001. In 2006, Salman Khan created the online Khan Academy, where anyone can watch free complete lessons on algebra, banking, calculus, geometry, history, physics, astronomy, chemistry, and more. Even the contents of the TED conferences, like Hans Rosling's video lectures, are now available to anyone. Once a high-priced, invitation-only private event, this content is now sponsored by companies like IBM.
Countries like China and India show the path developing nations will follow. Millions of educated young people are now entering the professional workforce in high-tech, rewarding environments. In a recent BBC documentary about modern India, these young workers were asked how many were now earning more than their parents. They all were.
Will modernization increase pollution in developing countries? Yes, actually, but then it will decline again. It's easy to forget how prosperity leads to a cleaner environment. The efficient agriculture we talked about uses a tiny fraction of the land needed before, meaning less tractor use and less pesticides. We now have the ability to put out forest fires that once burned the size of whole states. The environmental Kuznets curve makes the point that industrial development is just a path to quality of life improvement. The negative effects peak and then people demand that they reduce.
It's important to understand that money, wealth, prosperity isn't a goal unto itself. As the population increases with people leading longer, healthier lives with increasing wealth, they will use that wealth to get the things that they really want. Prosperity isn't the goal itself, it's just the mechanism to get to the goal.
Economic growth and the infrastructure and institutions that support it are the first priorities. As some level of wealth security is reached, people attain the luxury goods of higher education, health services, insurance, and savings against risk, individual rights and recognition, and the cultural arts.
As countries develop along existing technologies, their negative effects will be lower, and they will move through this stage faster, for instance jumping directly to clean coal power plants.
Incomes have been rising and equalizing around the world, and they will continue to do so. People everywhere will rapidly increase their quality of life in ways we can't even imagine yet.
So, what is the future going to look like?
Here's a little preview of international cooperation. This is Eric Whitaker. He put out a call for virtual choir members to sing and upload their videos to YouTube. 2,051 people responded from 58 different countries around the world. Those videos were assembled into one virtual choir, and that video was uploaded and shown at the TED conference.
We wonder if this is what the future will look like.
People collaborating from around the world, bringing each one's individual talents for the project at hand.
Technology breaking down barriers people connecting with one another.
and creating things that go beyond useful and become beautiful.
So, to move the world's largest saw 5 feet, since you can only move it at a rate of 1 foot per hour, you want to cut it in this order. It's going to take 1 hour of setup time, 1 hour of setup time, 1 hour of setup time. But if you go from 1 foot pieces to 6 foot pieces and then decide to cut 3, then you're going to have to take 5 hours plus 2 is 7. Whereas you could just go in order and it would take a lot less time.
And that's, yeah, and what are the resources that you're moving there again?
You have here, these are pointless lines, and I would hate for them to confuse you with the world's largest saw.
Which was found when?
It was found 40,000 years before Christ.
And it's, what's it made out of?
Pure diamond. The entire thing is made of pure diamond. It's indestructible.
What are you doing with that saw?
This little thing right here is the world's largest log.
How large is it?
It's 400 million miles in diameter. 400 million miles.
And its approximate length?
Infinity.
And what is the device that you're using for the setup of the saw? How are you moving the saw around?
The world's largest crane.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
I mean, that goes without saying. So, that's the explanation of setup time.